Okay, so today we are going to be talking about Wano Act 3, Part 1. So Act 3 is long and it's still ongoing. So what we've done is I'm going to be splitting it up into, I think, 4 videos before I'm caught up. I'm not sure my patrons looked ahead and figured out where I need to stop. So this time we're talking about chapters 956 to 974. It took me way too long to find those numbers. So basically Oden's flashback. That's what we're doing. We're entering Act 3 and then all of Oden's flashback and then we end there. So, oh my goodness, I'm gonna do my best, but I don't think I can do this section justice. I'm so blown away by this section. I was going over my notes last night to kind of refresh myself on what I'd be talking about, and I got emotional all over again. I was so intensely, emotionally invested in this story. I was so caught up in everything that was happening that I forgot that we weren't following the leads of the story, that this was basically a side tangent. It wasn't a side tangent. It's all relevant. It all matters. But I am so in love with these characters. I'm so invested in Oden and the Red Scabbards, and I'm so broken by their story. Themes of loyalty and hope and hopelessness and a found family, I would do anything for you, and strength in the face of adversity. These are all my favorite things. And this section did them all so well. And betrayal. Oda, you've been listening to me complain. I don't think there's a way to do this section justice, but I guess here's me trying. So this section, like all sections, starts out with kind of that, or like all Wano sections, starts out with that zooming out, seeing what the world is doing. And there's a lot of things happening in these, I think, 2 chapters. But the biggest ones for me were, 1, getting a peek into the Rocks Pirates and how iconic the crew in the Rocks Pirates were, and how deadly and devastating they were. I wonder how much of that is rumor painted by the world government and how much of that is legit. But I mean, it could all be legit. I don't know. I need to know more about them. And then the fact that we got to know a little bit of Garp's history of what made his name, of what made him the man that has the reputation that he has today. And that's that he fought the Rocks Pirates with Roger. He teamed up with Roger. Didn't expect that. Something is happening with Sabo. There's some big news happening with Sabo, and everybody is reacting, and I don't... Yeah, Sabo. Sorry, it's really early in the morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. Sabo. There's something really big happening with Sabo that everyone's reacting to. I don't know what it would be. I don't know if he's been captured or if something's happened with the Revolutionary Army. Maybe he's doing something as a distraction and everybody's just buying it. I don't know. I don't know what's up with him, but something's up with him. And the warlord position has finally been disbanded. It's finally done. And now they're hunting down the warlords to arrest them. Also, it's so cold to suddenly and abruptly with no warning be like, all right, that's done. I mean, not that they should give them a warning. They're criminals, but say, all right, that's done. You're no longer protected. Also, you're arrested. It's just like, of course they're gonna fight back. Of course they're gonna, you think they're gonna come peacefully? Really? Genuinely? What did you think would happen? And I'm thrilled that they're fighting back, that they are like, no, we're not, this doesn't work for us. And I'm excited for that. There's so much happening across the world right now that is just building to this volcanic eruption. There's so many little things that Oda is setting up, and I can't wait for it all to explode at the same time. So anyway, we open Wano with this gorgeous autumn panel of the celebration and of the people, dancing and celebrating. And then we cut to the storm. And here are the red scabbards waiting at the point where they were supposed to meet everyone, and no one's there. The Straw Hats aren't there. The troops that they gathered aren't there. The people that they relied on, that they had the weapons for, everything that they had hoped, that they had planned to be there to fight Kaido, no one's there. And, you know, they're crying with the rain falling on them. And you see their hopelessness in this situation, this moment of we finally think that we have a chance, and then they get there and nothing. And, you know, I look at Kawamatsu, who has waited all this time in a dark cell being slowly poisoned and not lost hope. And I look at Ashura, who did lose hope, who became bitter and hardened, but never lost loyalty, never stopped being loyalty. Now looking at Foxfire and telling him to stop. I think it was Momo that said, we'll come back another time, we'll try again. But what are they supposed to do? There is no other time. There is no other chance. Now is hopeless, later is hopeless. And then Dogstorm climbing into the boat. The level of loyalty of these people, of even in this moment of absolute hopelessness, I mean, there's no chance for them that they would still get in the boat and they would still weather the storm and still try. Because what choice do they have? What do they have left? The people from Okabri, I'm sorry, I don't know the town's name, believing in our plan to go into battle, took responsibility for our crimes. The village was burned to the ground. My wife is among them. And then them choosing till the very last moment to be Oden's samurai. It hits me that, I guess, so with Wano, we've led up to Wano for so long. You know, everything is pointing to Wano. Everything is leading back to Wano. Everything is indicating Wano. For hundreds of chapters, we've been anticipating getting here. And then we get to Wano, and it's a wasteland. And it's ruled by the most heinous man I've met yet. And these people are so beaten down and lost of hope that they don't even want to fight at all. Any of them. And it's such a surprising entrance to Wano, this great and glorious land that everything has led to, that we've been anticipating for so long, that it's so desolate and desperate. It wasn't what I was expecting Wano to be. And then I've spent 2 acts in Wano, and we've built up to this epic fight against Kaido. And we get here to this point, and I understand that this is the beginning of Act 3, and there's supposed to be 5 acts, so I get that this can't be the biggest, baddest fight, but it's something we've built up for 2 acts to get here. And I turn the page, and it's nothing. It's quiet. It's desolate. There's no one there that is supposed to help us. We're alone, and we have no hope. Just like how the people of Wano feel, just like how Wano is, alone and with no hope. And there's something really, really powerful about that storytelling angle that Oda is taking right now, that he keeps building me up for something great and leaving me with nothing. And it's so effective. He's doing it so effectively. And I'm so invested in these characters and in the story that I'm feeling it too. And I'm just really excited to see what he's doing with it. I mean, I have some ideas, but he's really hitting me with this stuff. And what a way to open Act 3. Okay, let's actually get into Act 3. Whew. It's basically all a flashback, and it's maybe my favorite flashback. Probably, definitely my favorite flashback I've read in 950 chapters. So we start off the Act 3 with establishing super strongly start off the flashback, super strongly establishing that Oden was a troublemaker. He was a ne'er-do-well. And so were all of the scabbards. All of these characters that we now love and know for their honor and loyalty, they were all just ruffians. But mostly Oden. Oden was quite the scoundrel. Starting off with Foxfire being in debt and stealing from his later-to-be wife, and then stealing the piglet that really he was warned against anyway, accidentally doomed everyone to be slaughtered by the piglet's mama, and it's a mess. I loved this scene because it was fun and it was ridiculous and it was hilarious. But also I love this scene because it's the first time where we've really strongly established that Oden was a troublemaker, right? But then right here, we clearly see that there's so much honor to him. I mean, I know we opened up with Oden seeing his face for the first time of him cooking over the bones of a friend, and that was his way of honoring that friend. But this scene establishes far better for me that this guy, who's very rough around the edges, is at his core a man of honor. He sees a problem. He cuts through the pig. Somehow she survives. It's fine. And he saves everybody. Somehow everyone in the town survives, even the ones that have been eaten. Oda, you are who you are. But he saves the day. He saves everyone and then takes the fall for everything. Even Foxfire even is going to stand up and take the blame himself and say, no, actually, it was me. I'm the one that did all this. I'm the one that damned us all before Oden came in and saved the day. But then Oden just knocks him out and takes the blame. And then whenever he's disowned, he's like, that just means you couldn't handle all my awesomeness. Like, he does have a pretty good vibe. I must admit, he's pretty awesome. Oh yeah, and then enter Orochi, who is the manservant of Yatsui. Orochi. Ha! I hate you. We see Oden going and collecting his people, collecting his scabbards, and getting back in the world's good graces, as well as doing a lot of really cool acts, doing a lot of really cool things just in his nature. Like when Cat Viper and Dogstorm are washed up on their island and they're immediately going to be crucified, persecuted, burned at the stake. I don't remember when it was. They're going to be killed because they're different. And that's scary. And Oden just comes up and in his loincloth is just like, no! He saves them and then just leaves. Okay, bye. And they're like still tied up to the stakes. And they're like, you gotta save us. You gotta finish this off. Not just Cat. They had Kawamatsu there as well. But anyway, Oden chooses them. He says that he would rather have them as his people, as his vassals. I love their tearful reaction to that. I love seeing him collect his crew and their love for him from the start. I loved seeing Yatsui tell them to get their lives together. If you're going to be his people, then you need to get it together. Read some books, learn to write, become worthy people. And that line that we saw not that long ago, getting it with the context. And that's really what Act 3 has been. A lot of recalling things that we've already seen, but giving it that added context. And it's been lovely. Anyway, Oden has been, like I said, he's been winning the loyalty of the people. He's been getting himself cleaned up. He's been maturing and aging and becoming a better man and serving his country, winning their love. But also he just wants adventure. He just wants to set to the sea, and he's totally incompetent. There's so much of Oden that reminds me of Luffy, which I'm sure was intentional. But anyway, Whitebeard arrives. They have this warning that there is a pirate ship that is here, and Oden goes running. He goes sprinting to get to them so that he can demand access to their ship so that he can sail the seas with them. And I love this conflicting nature of him choosing to be an honorable man. I really do think that honor is at his core. I think that there's so many things that he does without thinking that make that very clear. Even when he's a ruffian and a ne'er-do-well, he still chooses the honorable thing. And that's what he's doing here as their leader. He's choosing the honorable thing of serving his country and being the next shogun as he's meant to be. But in reality, he just wants adventure. And the moment he thinks he can have it, he runs. He doesn't think, he runs. And that, again, even after he joins the crew and he's on the ship, that's constant. It's like, Oden, no, we need to scout it first. And he's already running. And that's so Luffy. Anyway, he gets there. They don't want, well, especially Whitebeard doesn't want him. And Oden lets them go and then chases after them. So what Whitebeard tells him is that if you can hang on to the chain that's dragging you through the sea, the ocean. Ugh. I'm inarticulate when I'm tired. I'm inarticulate all the time. If you can hold on to the chain that's dragging you through the ocean, then for 3 days, then you can be on the crew. Which is stupid. That's ridiculous. No one can do that. But this is One Piece, so Oden can do that. So he ends up winning the love of the crew and the loyalty, and they want him on the ship, but he still hasn't quite won over Whitebeard. And again, Oden's honor wins out over his desire for adventure, over his own desires, his own wants for his life, because then he hears a woman screaming, and even though he has less than an hour left, he lets go and gives that up to go save her. And he, as a pufferfish, saves her. Izzy was also on the ship, on Whitebeard's ship. Should mention that. Anyway, so I find this really interesting. Oden's wife is from the Void Century? What? Okay, so she's from the Void Century and she felt the need to jump into the future and her goal is to get to Wano. Why? So why? Why does everything lead back to Wano? Why does she? What? And why didn't you answer it before you killed her? What was she doing? Did she ever tell Oden? Maybe she told him after he found the One Piece with Roger and them. Maybe then she told him what she was doing. But she's from the Void Century. She knows about the 100-year gap in history. She knows. She's from it. She's there. And she left. She left to get to Wano. She was desperate to get to Wano. Why? I don't know. When are you going to tell me, Oda? Anyway, she wants to get back to Wano. Oden doesn't want to take her. And then Whitebeard shows up because not his strength, not his persistence, not his excitement for adventure, nothing that Oden has displayed up to this point has made Whitebeard want him. But when he gives it all up, something that is clearly important to him, when he drops it all to go save someone in need, that is when Whitebeard calls him little brother. That is when Whitebeard changes the agreement, comes back for him, and welcomes him into the crew. And I really like that. So Oden and, is it Toki? I think that's her name, his wife, fall in love, get married, have a Momo, and Oden is put in charge of the 2nd Division, which I have been informed by my patrons that that was what Ace was in charge of. Anyway, then we get some of Orochi's backstory, and a couple of my patrons were saying that they feel like they can't hate Orochi because he's just a product of the world, the system that he grew up in. And while that has been something that has come up a lot, and that's one reason why I fight that Jonesy is a great antagonist in Fishman Island, is because he's a product of what he's grown up in. He's a product of how he was raised. And there are so many people throughout One Piece that we can point to that say, you are this way because of X, Y, and Z. And while I respect that, I hate him, I can And I do. You know the story. Orochi, the shogun, I believe it was that the shogun couldn't have any kids, yeah? And because of that, these families were hoping to become the next shogun. And Orochi's granddad, if I'm remembering correctly, decided to poison everyone, to knock them all out of the running so that he will definitely be the next shogun and his family will rule supreme. So Orochi's granddad, I believe it was forced to kill himself because he was found out, and that should have cleared the family name, that should have resolved things as I understand it. Correct me if I misunderstood that. But it didn't. Instead, his entire family was hunted down and brutally killed. So, I get it. I understand why that would make this entire family livid. He did poison and kill many people, but the children should not have been murdered for this. None of them should have been murdered for this unless they were accomplices. So I get it. I understand why this would make the family enraged and feel like they were owed something and simply want to destroy Wano, which is what they want to do. Orochi doesn't have any intention of ruling. He just wants to kill. Steal, kill, and destroy, which he does. Good job. Good job, Orochi. He teams up with Kaido and offers him weapons, turns Wano into a weapons manufacturing place, starves people, poisons people, harms people, takes away all their hope, and forces them into these terrible, terrible working conditions to supply weapons, and also kidnaps people and offers them to Kaido to become slaves, to be tortured, to be killed. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter. They all deserve it. I guess I get the idea. I understand why why some people could maybe not necessarily hate Orochi, because he's a product of what's been done to him and he's a product of how he was raised. But I can, and I do. He's scum. But he also has purpose. He has reasoning. There's a reason he is the way he is. There's a reason he's chosen to rule this way. There's a reason he has so much hatred and destruction in his heart. Just like I would expect from a villain that Oda has created. Just like I have come to know from the villains in my story. And I really, really appreciate that. But anyway, we got to see Roger too. In this section, I believe we've gotten more of Roger than ever in this whole series in the 900 chapters before. And oh, I loved it. Roger is such a great character. I love getting more time with young Whitebeard. I love that we're not done with Whitebeard. I love that we still get really extensive backstories with him. And I hope this isn't the last of it. And I hope this isn't the last of Roger either, although it might be. But I enjoyed it so much. I love the clash between Roger and Whitebeard. I love Oden's tenacity to try to fight Roger himself. What a dum-dum. And I love, oh my goodness, it was so short as far as the panels that we got to see, but the sheer strength of these two men fighting each other. And it went on for 3 days and 3 nights. Blackbeard's here. I forgot to mention that. Blackbeard's here, and he doesn't sleep. And I don't know why, but he doesn't sleep and he can steal people's devil fruits and he can hold 2 more devil fruits when no one can. Blackbeard is an enigma and I need more from him too. There's so many things. This is a 1,000-chapter long series, over 1,000 chapters, and there's so much that I desperately need more information on. Anyway. The battle was amazing. And then they finally just cool off and decide to just share treasure and be pals, which I love. Turns out that Roger has heard about Oden and wants to find the glyphs. So that, should I learn how to say it correctly instead of just shortening it to glyphs? How do I... Poneglyphs? Oh. That was pretty easy. Okay, So he wants to find the poneglyphs because he wants to find the One Piece because he wants to be the Pirate King. And he needs Oden to read them, which I don't know why I just assumed that Roger could read them. Even after I found out, even after I was on Zoe and after I was on Dressrosa, came after Zoe, didn't come after Zoe? I don't know. No. Dressrosa. So even after I was on Zoe and after I was on Whole Cake Island, and I learned about the minks. I learned about the minks, and I learned about their relationship with the samurai. I learned that Oden's family are the only ones that can read the poneglyphs. I learned all these things, and still, in the back of my mind, Roger can read them too. There's no logical explanation for that unless he's also from Wano, which I don't think so. So why would I assume that he can read them too? I don't know why this was such a surprise to me, but anyway, he's desperate to get Oden so that Oden can read them so that Roger can have the greatest adventure. And Oden, who's hungry for adventure, says yes. I asked my patrons with the poneglyphs how to pronounce it, and somebody responded with mystery plot cubes, and I just think that that's all I want to call them now. They're on their great adventure to find the One Piece, and man, I really loved this section. Going to Skypiea and seeing him write on the poneglyph, on the mystery plot cube, writing what we saw back in Skypiea when we were there and we saw Roger's writing. We got to see him write it. And all this time that I thought Roger had read the mystery plot cube, it turned out that no, Oden read it for him. And he never could have read it himself, but he did hear the voices. He heard voices that led him there. Why didn't Luffy hear them? Luffy's always been able to hear the voices that Roger could hear. But you didn't hear these. Why didn't Luffy hear them? What is What? Going to Fishman Island and seeing my beautiful, awesome prophecy mermaid as a kid, making the prophecy about, oh yeah, and on the poneglyph was the ancient weapon of Poseidon, and we now know that it's our princess. And then we see Cool Shark, Arlong's sister, giving the prophecy about her, and we see Joy Boy's apology next to the glyph there. And then we also get to go to places that we haven't been yet, like Gilbrath, the giant island. They went there. We haven't gone there yet. It's so cool to see the path that we've traveled. Some of it. We've traveled some of it. It's so cool to see it now through Roger's eyes and through Oden's eyes, and to see Shanks and Buggy and Blackbeard all on this ship, taking this journey that we have been taking. There's so many little callbacks and little references. Let's see. I'm hereby disbanding the Roger Pirates. Seeing so many things that we've seen before, but seeing them in this new context. It's so nostalgic somehow, even though we haven't completed this journey yet, but we're on it. This is the journey that we've been on. This is what we've been doing. And we're seeing in flashes Roger do it. I didn't think we'd get this. I didn't think we'd get to see him do this. We got to see Tom. There's the island, the Knot Island, the bridge where Robin was near executed. I'm just flipping through this chapter now. Oden's wife got sick, and they had to drop her off. They find the final poneglyph, and above it is the Kazuki crest. It's true that they were brothers with the minks. They make this pact between the two people. Oden's wife gets sick, and they have to take her back to Wano. Buggy gets sick, and they have to drop him off, and Shanks stays with him, which I'm super sus of. I'm so sus of that. What is Buggy hiding? Buggy, my Buggy, there's something there. He did not just get sick because plot. He's hiding something. He found something, and he took it. I don't know what, but the next time we see Buggy, as he's fighting off everybody, he's got something, or he knows something. He did something, or found something or stole something, and he got off for a reason. I don't know what the reason is, but I'm gonna find out soon. Next time I hang out with Buggy, probably not the next time, it's Oda. I'm gonna find out soon, and I'm gonna be really happy for him, whatever it is. Anyway, Oden dropped off his wife in Wano, was gonna stay with her, but she demanded that he go. Oh man, and he saw, oh gosh, it was so hard. He saw that Wano was becoming industrialized. He saw that it was changing. He could probably sense that something was wrong. His men came running. They needed him. But he continued his adventure. And they got there. They got to Raftel. And they found the One Piece. And they laughed. They learned what the 100-year void is. They learned what the Will of D is, what the ancient weapons are, and that Wano was once open to the rest of the world. And they laughed. And this chapter, I think this chapter is one that hits me the hardest in the section in Wano in the series, because it invokes a sense of awe. It's almost like this scene of Roger laughing, of everyone laughing. It's almost like it has a sense of reverence to it. Like we've hit something different. We've hit something huge. Something, I don't know, I still don't have the words for it. I couldn't think of the words when I was reading it live on my Patreon, and I can't think of the words now. But this scene just has a sense of reverence to it, a sense of awe to it, a sense of like quiet. We're here. This is it. Even though we didn't see it, even though we weren't a part of it yet, it was kind of like confirmation that yes, this is here, this is real, this is what we're doing, and this is where we're going. And then just add to that the fact that Raftel has been misheard and missaid for however long, and that it's actually Laftel, which I'm going to put this on the screen. One of my patrons showed me that I thought was really, really cool. But yeah, just this moment was something where after I read it, I just kind of had to take a second to breathe and just sit, you know? It was such a significant moment that I didn't think I'd get to witness. I didn't think I'd get to see this. And it was so cool. My husband and daughter are home. I need to go mom. I'll be back after her nap. So, Laftel has been discovered. The One Piece was super satisfying. Everybody's happy we did this. And now Oden needs to go back to Wano. One thing I'd like to note is whenever we meet up with Shanks again, he has something to admit to Whitebeard? Roger? Who was it? What chapter was it? Let me look real quick. 968. Oh, nope. My iPad is not down here. What did Shanks say? What did he have to admit? What happened? Did he betray them? It was to do with Buggy. It was to do with Buggy, wasn't it? What did Buggy do? When he left and Shanks left with him, what did they do? I got nothing. I don't know. But I bet it's something. I bet whatever Buggy left for, whatever he did, I bet he and Shanks did something, and that's what he's talking to. I bet that's what it is. I don't know. I got nothing for you. But it's to do with Buggy, my Buggy. It's probably fine because Buggy did it and Buggy can do no wrong. I absolutely loved Oden's send-off. The lines, we were utterly stoic, not a tear was shed, and then you just have them weeping. Anyway, Oden comes home fully expecting the people of Wano to not like him anymore because he left them, which, you know, fair. It's really interesting. I have a lot of feelings about Oden. We'll talk about it. Anyway, he thinks that they won't like him at this point, which would be deserved, to be fair. I mean, he was earning their trust and their love, and he left for an adventure. I mean, I'm sure he would make a better ruler with the information he has now that he's found the One Piece. We'll never know. But I don't care. Like, you left your people. You left your people. So you do deserve their ire. But because Toki, I believe is his wife's name, because she is amazing, they still love him. Toki, man, she is a character that doesn't get a lot of page time, doesn't get a lot of lines, but Oda managed to make her so significant and so easy to love. She's such an impactful character despite how little time she spends on the page. Anyway, Oden finds out that all that Orochi's been doing, including trying to kill Oden's family, on top of his list of sins of what he's turned Wano into, of how he's hurt the people of Wano, of how he's teamed up with Kaido. All these things, he's also trying to kill Oden's family, and Kawamatsu and Dogstorm saved them. Oh, I love them. I love Kawamatsu. But when Oden tries to challenge him because of the barrier fruit, or barrier arts, is it the fruit? They're defended. He's defended. And Oden wasn't able to kill Orochi. The way I said that made him sound like a roach, and I'm thrilled with that. And this is when we see Oden coming out of that meeting, going into it ready to take his throne back and to take down the man who has harmed Wano. But instead, he comes out dancing in the streets, naked, like a fool. And gosh, I hate Oden. I hate Orochi. Oden, I knew, obviously we know that Oden is doing this for a reason, that something has transpired there, and that Oden is dancing to protect someone. I assume it was to protect his family and the scabbards. I wasn't thinking big enough, obviously. At this point, we still don't know that Orochi is taking these people and giving them to Kaido to be harmed and to be killed, and we don't realize that Oden is doing this to save them from that fate. And he's charged to do it for 5 years. He's promised that these people will be freed and saved if he does it every single week, I believe, for 5 years, and that Orochi promises to stop all that he's doing and that he and Kaido will leave at the end of the 5 years after they're done building their ships or repairing their ships. So, Oden launches himself fully into it. He's made the fool. Orochi succeeds in the people's one last hope, their true shogun coming home. He succeeds in squashing that too by putting Oden in a role of utmost humiliation, causing them to hate him because he was their last hope. He was the one that they believed in, and instead, he's a fool. But Oden, the true shogun of his people, he was never actually able to hold that title. He was never actually able to have that role, but he was. He was the true shogun of his people in his time because it's so interesting because he did leave them for adventure. He did leave them. He could have stayed. None of this would have happened. Orochi wouldn't have scammed and stolen and cheated his way to the top. Admittedly so, Oden leaving did cause Orochi to be able to impersonate Oden's father and get this title unfairly. He did. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like Orochi wouldn't have still tried. He maybe would have tried to kill Oden. Maybe he would have succeeded. Maybe the only reason Oden was able to do all that he did was because he left. We'll never know, but he did leave. But at the same time, when he came home, he fully accepted the role. I mean, he was a kid, you know? He was still a kid. He was still being shaped and learning, and he was still just after adventure. But when he came home, he was a man ready to do everything to protect his people. He was late, and he had to undo a lot, and he wasn't able to undo it, but he really, really tried. Anyway. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention, not only did he do all that, but also the people who were cheering that Oden came home and cheering that he was going to take back his role, they were shot with poison arrows and killed. I hate him. So anyway, at the end of 5 years, shockingly, they didn't keep their promise. Instead, Orochi comes through, says, hey, I'm going to turn Wano into a weapons manufacturer. And when he's challenged, when Oden confronts him, he's like, no agreement here. And so anyway, Oden says, it's time. It's time for us to take down Kaido and his scabbards. I love the panel of them all together getting ready to fight. I believe this is the fight where they were going, yeah, it is. It's the fight where they were going to go to Kaido's mansion tower place while he was drunkenly sleeping, and they were going to kill him in his sleep. But there was a traitor in their midst. So they fought. Kaido was prepared. He met them there, and he met them with his forces, and they had to fight him. It was a great battle, and Oden actually got that hit in, that two-sword style hit that permanently scarred Kaido, and finally he had the upper hand. But then he saw Momo, and I'm reading this and I'm so dumb, and I'm thinking, how did Momo get here? Why isn't he with his mom and his sister, and with why is he here? I didn't even think about the clone fruit until it was too late, just like freaking Oden saw his son and was distracted. And they lost. And they lost. And they were captured, and they were sentenced to boil. I forgot to mention that Shinobu was with them, that she joined the fight, that she happily joined their ranks. And when they were captured, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Oden actually, even when they were all captured, claimed not to know her, claimed that she wasn't a part of it so that she could go free. Once again, Oden constantly with these little acts of honor. So they're sentenced to boil. Oden implores them to give them a chance to be able to walk free. And you know, it's changed to, okay, if you can survive the boiling oil for an hour, then sure, knowing that they can't. And I think personally, and I'm sure this will never be confirmed or denied, but I personally think that Oden knew perfectly well that he was never going to walk free. I think that he knew perfectly well that there was no chance that they were going to let him survive. It was too late for him. And I think that he requested this specifically so that he could give the Red Scabbards a chance at surviving. Even knowing that they may not, but just the chance. The scene of him in the boiling oil, clearly in pain, terrible pain. I mean, we watched the one guy get boiled alive, holding them up, and them yelling. It should be reversed. We should be holding you up. It's a scene that I haven't been able to get out of my head since I read it. It's a scene that has stuck with me between Oden fighting to give them a chance, holding them up, taking it all himself, and them falling apart because they want to be the ones holding him up. Oh, man. And then you have Shinobu in the crowd, not caring about incriminating herself, telling them all what Oden's done, why he danced, and what Orochi has done. Once again, when they cheer him on, they get shot with poison arrows. But he fights to live out that full hour. And of course, at the end, Orochi? Or was it Kaido? One of them change the sentence. Just kidding, never mind, I've changed my mind. Death by firing squad. So Oden leaves them with one last task. You've got to open the gates of Wano and prepare the way for the one that's coming. And he throws them as far as he can to give them the chance to run, and accepts his sentence. And honestly, you guys, this whole scene was, it hit exactly like Oden wanted it to. It was dark. It was tragic. It was painful, but it was also so beautiful. So after Oden's death, we get our scabbards crying, remembering Oden, choosing them and taking them in. We see them getting attacked, having to stay behind and fight, getting separated, and them desperately trying to protect Oden's family. Only a few of them end up making it there, but Kaido got there first. And this scene of him holding Momo above the tower, holding him above the heights and telling him to say his name and basically to shame his father's name. I love this scene. My patrons showed me some old panels where we've actually seen Momo remembering that moment and other moments, which I love those little details. And when I do reread the series, because I absolutely will, I'm so excited to see them and so many other things like this that Oda has sprinkled all throughout the series to show how much he thought of this stuff a long time ago. But anyway, I love this scene for Momo. I'm so glad I got to see it play out. We see that the scabbards were going to take them away, but Toki tells them, no, actually I'm going to send you guys into the future. And then she, which, we already knew. And then she passes off her daughter to Kawamatsu and asks him to raise her, which, it says a lot about Kawamatsu that she trusted him with her daughter. Just saying, I love him. I know we're not done with her. I don't know if this is a fake out death or not. She may come back, she may not, but I know we're not done with her. There's definitely a lot more of her story to be told, and I'm desperate for it, obviously. Again, she was a part of the 100-Year Void. She was a part of the Void Century. I just want to know. I just need to know. I know we're getting more of her. Anyway, Denjiro, it turns out that he was one of the scabbards. I don't know. I didn't see it coming. I didn't expect it. I didn't know who this guy was supposed to be, wow. He was one of the red scabbards, and he worked his way up in Orochi's favor. He took in Hiyori when she ran away from Kawamatsu. Even though he's amazing, he took her in and raised her up, and he was the real witching hour boy. Yatsui said he wasn't, but in reality, all this time, he and Hiyori were stealing from the evil, the bad people, the rich of this land, and distributing it at night for the people who were in pain and suffering. All this time, he's always sleepy, he's always looking so tired, and it's because he's up all night, serving the people. And man, I love these little touches of how over these 20 years of hopelessness and destruction and watching their country suffer and die, I love seeing how Oden's people have remained faithful and remained strong. And you see so many different versions of it. And every time it hits me, every time it gets me, I think that there is not a beat. There's very few beats. There's not a beat. There's not a beat in this section, in the first part of Act 3, that didn't hit me exactly how Oda meant it to hit me. And now we get to one of the best reveals of the entire friggin' series. So, flashback done. Cut to present day, back to this desolate, hopeless moment for our people that I love so much. This really friggin' long flashback that I forgot we were in a flashback. I forgot we were reading One Piece. I forgot we weren't with our main characters because none of it mattered, because this was the main story. This was the only story that mattered. This was the only story I cared about. I was so heavily invested in Oden and his people, his journey, everything we were doing. I was so into it that I forgot Luffy was the protagonist. And I love Luffy. Cut back to their hopeless, miserable, impossible situation, fighting the waves, fighting to get to Kaido, even though it's absolutely impossible to win at this point. And they're faced once again with the reality that there is a traitor in their midst. And Foxfire doesn't want to admit it. He doesn't want to face it. He doesn't want to have to deal with it. He wants to take responsibility for it because he can't stomach the idea of having to accuse one of his own or having to face the idea that someone who he has eaten with, who he has lived life with, who was willing to boil with him and with the others, that one of them would have betrayed them. I mean, I get it, but they've got to do it, right? They've got to clear this up. Kenjuro was the traitor. You guys, listen, I love a good betrayal. I love a good betrayal. This was tops. It was perfect. It was amazing and devastating. It hurt and it made sense. The panel, when you turn the page, which I was reading on my iPad, so, swipe the screen. When you turn the page and that panel of him laughing, revealing that it was him the whole time that's been feeding information, that he is part of Orochi's family, that he hates them and Wano as much as he does, and as much as the clone chick and all of them do. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect, and it made sense. And after the reveal, my patrons were showing me clues, like that he didn't cry when they all came together and they were crying and they were so happy to see each other. They were so happy to be reunited that he didn't cry. He just asked about Momo. That he drew with his left hand and all of his drawings were terrible. And in fact, every time he helped, he really wasn't helping at all. He really was kind of causing more disservice to the crew than not. And that we could kind of see that he was hindering the crew, actively trying to hinder them this whole time. The logic that he has a devil fruit, that doesn't work. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't actually make sense that his devil fruit wouldn't be effective. He should be able to draw well. And in my mind, I'm just like, oh, humor, yay. But no, it was a clue. And then they also showed me the panel of him with the paintbrush when they first arrive, with the paintbrush in his right hand, and there's birds flying off, and it was him sending a message. And it hurts because I have become so invested. My heart has become so attached to these people. And I hurt so much for this hopeless situation that they're in. And I don't want them to have a betrayal. I don't want them to have a traitor in their midst. I don't want one of their family, closer than family, to not love them. And to want their pain and suffering and death. I don't want that for them. But here we are, and it's the greatest reveal. It makes sense. There were clues. It fits exactly right, and it hurts exactly like a betrayal should. It was perfect, Oda. It was perfect. And then the ships arrive, because of course he's betrayed them here too. And oh my goodness, it's impossible. Of course, he cuts through him, and why didn't he die? Because it was a painting, because it turns out that the whole time he could paint perfectly well. He was lying about that too, right? It's impossible. It's over. We lose. We lose. He's got Momo. He's knocked out cool ninja chick. It's over. We lose. And then arrives Luffy and Law and Kid. And that's it. I ended on that panel. I ended on that. It was perfect. That chapter that I ended on, their hopelessness, their sadness, their despair, and his reveal, and then they're here. You guys, it's the perfect chapter. It's the perfect chapter. I forgot Luffy was a part of this story, but then he showed up. Oda loves his Here Comes the Cavalry moments, and I do too. I do too. The way he does it is always so good. Almost always. Anyway, I'm so happy they're here. Obviously, I can't really articulate for you what that moment was for me in reading it, but you probably know. You probably had the same moment. You probably had the same tears. And I'm so happy that Kid is with them. I knew we weren't done with him. I knew we weren't done with Kid. When he bailed and then he's just gone and then he showed back up, I knew it. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. Are we fighting? Are we fighting? Do they have more people? Is it more? Is it more than just those three? Do they have the rest of the Straw Hats with them? Do they have all the people that we thought we were supposed to have with us now? Are we fighting? I don't know. It was amazing. These chapters were flawless. I have no complaints. I've got nothing negative to say. It was perfect. I loved it. I loved it all. That's it. That's what I got for you. Nothing but emotions. Nothing but gushing, excitement, impact. Perfect. It was perfect. It was perfect. It was the perfect flashback. It was the perfect non-flashback at the beginning and the end of the I'm so happy. I don't even want to continue because I just want to live in this moment, this feeling, this, oh, I'm so happy with this story. But also I gotta see what happens next. So, you know, we're gonna do that. There we go. It was just a gush. That's all it was. That's all I have for you. It was just, this was just impactful, beginning and end. And I'm so happy with it. So that's all. Feel free to chat with me. I know I skipped over a few things. I know I kind of glossed over a couple of things, so feel free to chat more about the stuff that I didn't talk about, anything that I messed up, always feel free to correct. It was perfect. That's all I have to say. I post videos every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you again soon.